I don't know how to turn the music off. I could rap to it, but you'd probably not like it. Dan knows. All right. Everybody, stop talking. Just kidding. Have a seat, get comfortable, get ready for this. I am Shoney today because they are at a leadership situation that I was not invited to. So everybody welcome out. I'm sure we'll have people coming in over the next few minutes. We'll have our next class on promptness and time management or something to get people here on time. Anyway, welcome everyone out. This is our fourth out of 12 tactic shift that we'll be learning about today from Dan Kennedy, master lead generator extraordinaire. So Dan, a little bit about Dan. I don't know how many of you know him. Some of you do, some of you don't. He's been in the business 15 years, been at Keller 13 years, closed 40 million last year. All correct? The team closed, yeah. And his best attribute is humbleness. So he will not take credit for anything. But Dan's been on executive committee at UCAR. He's been on board of directors at UCAR, all around rock star, very handsome for the most part. Yeah, debatable. Yeah, talk to his wife about that. All right, so we'll get started here, but also, do we have a First Colony rep? Anyone? First Colony rep? Okay, so we'll have them come up after, but they're providing lunch, so we'll have a little lunch after so we can just chill out and chat and kind of mingle and talk about what we learned about today from Dan and kind of go that direction. So with that being said, we will end on time. That's our main focus. We know everybody's really busy. We know the market is crazy, but we know everyone is really busy. So we're going to kind of focus on that, get it kicked off over to Dan.
Thanks, Brad. Is this on?
Yeah, it's on. I'll be microphone back.
Appreciate everybody taking a little time to join us here today. I'm a terrible teacher or instructor or whatever you want to call it, but so any participation, I'm happy to take any sort of comments. What are so we'll kind of go through some of this. Lead generation can go literally like 100 different directions. There's not one way to do it. I do it certain ways. He or she might do it completely opposite. One of my first mentors in the business, like her personality, like I'm on one end of the personality spectrum. She was on the far other end of the spectrum. And she did all her lead generation in line at the grocery store, basically. And that was just her type of personality. So there's a million ways to do it. We're going to cover a few and then try to leave some room for discussion at the end of the hour. And if you have anything to add, any questions, feel free to raise your hand and we'll chat about it. So first of all, just the mindset associated with lead generation. Anybody brave enough to share with us what's the first thing that comes to your mind when we say the words lead generation? Is it positive? Is it a negative? Like, what comes to mind for you?
Scary phone calls.
Scary phone calls. Okay. What else? Kevin?
A bold coach telling me to call a bunch of expireds and not telling me how to get their number.
Okay. So coach coming down on you, telling you what to do, but not necessarily how to get it done. Expired listings, there could be a possibility out there right now, right? A bunch of listings going to be expiring soon here. Anything else?
I would say,
Joel?
for the past 10 years or whatever, I've seen a lot of agents buying leads.
Agents buying leads? Okay. Is that lead generation?
No. So, but it is, I would say, I think people consider, yeah.
It's getting leads. It's just maybe trading your money for you're spending money to save that time to put something in front of you, for sure. There's nothing wrong with that. There's different ways to go about that. Some people are all in on this buying leads. Some people are going to take a more grassroots approach and just dig it up on the phone. But like I said, there's not a right way or wrong way to do it. Here's a couple bullet points about lead generation. I like the quote here on the bottom. Lead generation is a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. There's nothing more important for my business. It's a guy, an agent down in Tallahassee, Florida. For me, sometimes I'm operating at about a 10. Other times, like the entire month of July, I'm probably at a 1 or a 2. There's just, I do feel strongly that lead generation like begins like the day before, and just having your life in order, having your schedule right. And we're going to get into that a little bit more. Josh Stern was down here a couple months ago, and he kept saying something that I thought was pretty interesting. He kept repeating over and over again, knowledge is the currency that we spend to earn the trust of our clients. What does that mean? What does that mean to you guys? Knowledge is the currency that we spend to earn the trust of our clients. Tyler, what do you think? What comes to mind?
I watched a video this morning on NAR, and they were talking about like lead generation. And they said one of the best ways is this video. Don't do it. It's scary. It's nerve-wracking. Sorry, now you can probably hear me. I watched a video of NAR this morning that said video was a really good way for lead generation. We've been told that for several years, at least I have, from different coaches and, you know, realtors in the business. And it's definitely scary. For me and my personal business, I know that video has been one of the best ways. I don't know if it's a direct correlation to getting leads, but I can say that the year I was most consistent with my video was the best year I ever had. And I started out that year with like nothing going on. And I started just doing silly videos because I had nothing going on. And that ended up toward the end of the year, I just started doing really well. But in the NAR video, they said, you have to be top of mind. And when you're in the video and you're sharing statistics and market updates and being educational to the general public, then you seem like the expert and people want to come to you when they think of real estate.
So creating top of mind awareness through video and just letting your people know that you know the market, having the statistics, having the information, up-to-date information. Is that what you're saying? Great. So a couple things here. Statistics, not that like, I mean, different personalities or different behavioral styles are going to respond differently to statistics. And when we're on a call or you're at a listing appointment or whatever it is, they're probably not just going to want to have you spewing statistics at them. With that being said, they're going to want to know that you understand what's going on in the market right now. Are things changing a little bit right now? So is the information that we're giving people, say on a phone call or on a listing appointment 60 days ago, going to be different than the conversations we're having with them today? Right? Where do you guys go for some of these statistics? Homes sold, homes on the market, like where do we find this? Pretty simple, right? The statistics tab. A couple of my favorites would be just the top one. What is it? Market analysis, I think. It shows how many active listings there are month by month. Shows how many deals are going under contract. How many deals are closing. Are there more deals closing in the month of July versus June of this year, or fewer? Anybody want to guess? There's fewer. By how many? Any idea?
15%.
Like 30%. I mean, we're only in the 28th day of July, so the month's not over, but there is a significant decline in deals closed in the month of July from the month of June. Joel.
I think it's also important to speak to the audience that you're
you know, so that you're relevant, because you're not going to share stats on high-end home sales with somebody that's looking to buy or sell a condo, right? So where I do a lot of new construction and development, I'm probably going to focus more on what's happening with new construction and development versus, you know, maybe somebody that's out doing listing appointments all the time. So I think the start of that sentence where it says knowledge, like, know your audience. And I think that's, you know, really what you're going to provide value to your clients.
Absolutely. Thank you. Peter? Oh, somebody over here had something to say?
So I also think that creating perspective with the statistics is important. So one of my favorite things is the daily snapshot, because you can show the client in real time, this is what the market was like a year ago today and what it's like today. And they can see, oh, the ratio of under contracts to solds and actives to solds or under contracts has shifted substantially. And that graphic, some folks are very visual, and I think that that's powerful as well. So.
Sure. That might help them understand that, no, we can't just price the house at whatever dollar amount right now, like we could have a few months ago. Anybody know how many houses are on the market right now on utahrealestate.com?
92.
Yeah, 92 to 93-ish. It'll be probably 10,000 in the next couple weeks. It appears. And where were we at in February? Yeah, we could hardly get above 1,900, 2,000 listings. Anybody know the median sell price to list price ratio right now? 98, I believe. We've seen like 104, 105 at the hottest times. That's a good one as well, just to help people understand, you know, exactly where the market is. Yeah.
Something I thought was very interesting that I do. I go to the MLS. If you take a zip code, take an area, you know, you're going to meet with somebody, you know, everybody will start telling you prices are going down, prices are going down. Prices going down. So what does that mean? Go to the MLS, take a zip code, export it to a spreadsheet, then do a calculation of the percentage difference between the original list price and what was sold. And you're going to have a difference. And you're going to be able to see on average for a house this size, you're seeing in your area, yes, not only is the price going down, but what's selling is 6-7%. This is the run rate. 6-7% of what you see listed is the percentage of what people are closing right now. And it gives you a real good snapshot of the true number.
That's awesome. Thank you. Going back, this last thing on this one, confront the media head on. There's headlines. There's all sorts of headlines out there in the world. Most of it is just to get people to click on it. Like it or not, our people are seeing it and it might cause confusion. They need us to be like a voice of reason in their real estate world to help them understand the realities of what is actually going on. Excuses. Who here has ever given themselves an excuse or a reason why I can't lead generate today? I sure have. And every hand probably should be up. There's a bold law. You can have reasons or results, and you can't have both. Cut out the excuses, cut out the garbage, get your mind right, and make a decision today that lead generation is an important part of my business. This is how I put food on my table. This is where I find my clients. And I have a duty and an obligation to support my family. Hey, I better not see this like showing up on Facebook or something, Alma. It's good. I can't possibly devote 3 hours a day to this. I can't reach anybody. Nobody picks up the phone. I've told myself that one a bunch of times. I'll get burned out if I do it every day. These are the type of thoughts that we've got to get under control. And I think of it this way, if and all of us can ask ourselves this question, if my spouse or significant other or those who depend on me, if they were to follow me into the office and just kind of like just observe me from a distance, like would they be impressed with the effort I put into my business and generating leads and coming up with new clients? Or would they be like, okay, I didn't realize that my husband or wife goes to the office and plays solitaire on the computer all day long, you know? Just get through those excuses, get through those roadblocks and just get it done. One really important thing for me when it comes to generating leads is setting goals. Setting daily goals, setting weekly, monthly, and yearly goals. Few metrics that can be used are number of calls that I'm going to make today. What's my goal? What did I actually get done? How many contacts or conversations did I have today or this week? How many additions to my database did I make? How many appointments did I set? How many appointments have I attended this month? Setting some goals, tracking it, reviewing it, using that information week after week, month after month to figure out, okay, am I tracking upwards? Or am I regressing? If you don't have anything to track numbers on, come see me. I can share a couple things with you. But that's really like the feedback of pulling back the curtain when you really track it. Like if you don't track your numbers, you might think that you're doing, something up here. And then when you actually start to track your numbers, from my personal experience, I'm actually way lower than I was telling myself where I was at. So it can be a really eye-opening experience to actually track it specifically.
I know in other classes and things that I've sat through here and trying to figure out, if you want a certain income that you're trying to generate for the year, to your point, you kind of need to understand your stats of, if I call 100 people and I talk to 10 and I get one buyer out of those calls, how many people do I need to call? How many appointments do I need to have to make that income? And if you're not tracking it, you're never going to hit that income goal.
That's right. Thanks, Joel.
So I have another question while we're on this, if it's okay with you. If anybody's willing to share other lead generation things, unless that's going to be in your presentation, like instead of calls or door knocking, I know there's different people here that do different types of real estate.
Sure.
It's not all traditional real estate. So I'm wondering if anyone's or multiple people are willing to share how they go out and lead gen outside of could you go back to your list of what was on there?
Like of different methods
Instead of
lead
calling.
gen. We'll get to that.
Okay.
So yes, please share that. Now might not be the best time in this discussion for that, but we are going to get there. Yeah. Time blocking for lead gen. If it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. Does anybody here specifically make a concerted effort to time block their lead generation? What does that look like for you, Micah?
8 to 10 for like SOI and new leads, and then 10 to 11 for so like 8 to 10 for SOI, past clients and new leads, and then like 10 to 11 for hot clients and property updates and things like that.
So you're doing 8 to 11 basically Monday through Friday? What does that look like?
Yeah, and I always had a really hard time blocking until my MAPS coach said you're doing okay if you can hit it 80%, which just opened my world up because I never was hitting it 100%. But so at least 4 days a week, but it's on my schedule for 5.
Cool. What does that look like for you, Alma? Your time blocking?
I used to be a lot more dedicated, like, okay, it's this time to this time in the morning. So now my life is a little more chaotic. So I always make sure that I get prospecting in and time block at least an hour to 2 hours those days that I do that. What I realized really quick is that if you don't time block it, as a matter of fact, I started using a calendar back in the day, like 18 years ago when you and I were prospecting together. I started using a calendar back then and I've never stopped. So I have everything on Google Calendar. It's on my calendar. Like you said, if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. I think I learned that from you. And I just have made that part of my business consistently. And if it's not there, it doesn't happen. And if I don't make some things happen every day, because it's really easy to get
Oh, yeah.
like chill and not do your work and not go, not going to the office or whatever. You find other things to do. You're always going to find excuses, I mean, and being candid, my highest priority lead generation is for sell by owners, because I know none of y'all are doing it. And so it really helps when you don't. So don't do those. They're really hard. It's really difficult. No, I'm just kidding. But if it's not there on your calendar, it's not going to happen. Make it like a business. You can't give your clients this is a Dan Kennedy quote. You can't give your clients any reason to doubt in your ability to sell their home.
Sounds good. Yeah. For me, Sunday night is the best time to sit down, find some peace and quiet, go over my calendar and get my top priorities, specifically lead gen calendared on there. Any other comments about that? Yes, thank you.
So my issue is I time block from 9 to noon. And we have classes at 11 with Keller Williams. So that is the biggest issue that I have with not just Keller Williams, but in general. So because I am more productive in the morning, I find out, because in the evening, then the kids come home, the husband comes home, and everybody needs, everything, and I can't do anything. When they are away working or at school, I can focus on it. So my issue is this class is great because I'm learning, but it's taking me from my 9 to noon time block. What is your
Maybe
what
if
is,
you're going to start, anybody have any suggestions to
what
help
is your
out?
suggestion to help out on this? Well, yes, but I have kids to get them to school. Yes, so I wish I could start at 6, but you know what I mean?
I would shift your time. So because rhythm is the most important aspect of our business, is having rhythm throughout our day, right? Balance is bullshit. Everybody's probably heard that. You can't have balance, you'll never have balance in your life. But if you have a good rhythm for your production, do what works best for you and your business. Everybody's got a little bit different environment, kids, school, whatever. So make sure you're doing what's best for your business. These meetings are here to serve you and to give you the information that you need for you and for your business. So don't feel like you have to mandate being in a meeting that maybe wouldn't serve you as much as getting on the phone and calls.
So I like that, but also another question, if she's doing it consistently from 9 to 11 from lead generation people, is that enough? Like if she's consistent and not missing 2 hours a day? So maybe
I like what Micah's coach told them. If you're hitting 80% of your lead gen time, I personally would feel good about that. Somebody else might not feel good about that.
I feel good about 40.
Yeah. Amy?
My last question, she told me balance was never going to happen, right? It's a teeter totter. And that's my problem too. I have 2 kids, they're young, they're at home. So finding that time, I have to make it a teeter totter. Sometimes it's heavy on the family side, sometimes it's heavy on the work side. And that's where you get your balance. It's not really ever going to be a true balance. You just have to make sure that teeter totter keeps going back and forth.
Sure. Another thing that a mentor has told me in the past, if you erase, you must replace. Like, so if I'm going to take something out of my time block lead gen, I'm going to make a decision to attend a training or whatever the case may be, replacing that somewhere else.
Pop in on the client and say bye.
Sure. Any other thoughts about this one? Do people here use a calendar, generally speaking? This is like a cherry picked calendar of mine where I actually had it on there. So, couple different methods of finding motivated people. There's prospecting, generating leads through your actions and words in person on the phone and talking directly to people versus a marketing approach. Receiving leads from ads, websites, signs, mailing campaigns, or other advertising sources. Like I said, there's not a right or a wrong way. We've heard a couple different approaches, expireds for sell by owners. Does anybody here take a more of like a solely a marketing based approach to generating leads? Peter?
Yeah, so I don't think it's solely marketing based approach. When I was new in the business, I had time and no money, right? So I spent a lot of time prospecting. But over time, I have less time and more money, so I'm spending a little bit more on marketing. The advice is to be prospecting based and marketing enhanced, right? But kind of the secret sauce with marketing, and this I only learned in the last few years, but it makes a huge difference, is make an offer for immediate response. I don't know if you're going to talk about that at all, but in your marketing, you have to make, if you're trying to find the motivated, you have to make an offer for immediate response. And kind of the classic example is call me for a precision price analysis of your home, or rates are going up. Now's the time to make a decision to discuss how you can secure a lower rate than average. Give me a call, some kind of make an offer for immediate response, something with a time limit, that kind of thing. And my marketing has kind of improved in its return since I've been doing that.
That's great. Thanks, Peter. Anyone else do more of like a marketing based lead generation approach? I think of a couple marketing based, like there's some teams maybe centered more in Salt Lake that you hear him on the radio. Justin Udy, that's a marketing based approach. I'm sure that's just one like aspect of his business. You hear Josh Stern on the radio quite a bit. They're casting a wide net, and it costs money, obviously.
23,000.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Justin Udy's monthly marketing bill.
So he's got to hold those dollars accountable, and I'm sure they're closing a bunch of deals off it. There's teams out there, Zillow, they're spending upwards of $100,000+, not a year, a month on their Zillow spend. When I was newer in the business, I had a mindset shift after a few years. I was spending 90% of my time cold calling for sell by owners, expireds, and it was great, and it worked. And Alma helped me out.
You helped me out.
I helped him out as well. And you're going on appointments typically, and you're competing with really, really solid agents, and they're tough to get. They're probably meeting with Alma, or they're meeting with Cameron, or they're meeting with Sherry Booth. And it's you can battle, and once in a while you'll get them. So I was spending 90% of my time cold calling, and that was yielding 60% of my closings. And I was spending about 10% of my time and efforts and energy networking or calling my database, my sphere of influence, people who already know me, like me, hopefully, and trust me. And that was yielding 40% of my closings. So I'm like, why am I spending 90% of my time on 60% of my closings, and my sphere, which I'm spending about 10% of my time on, is giving me 40% of my deals? It just didn't make sense for me. And it was so much easier of a transition. I'm not saying don't call for sell by owners or anything like that. I found it to be more effective for me, just spending more time networking and harvesting and creating a database with my sphere of influence. Get your database organized. Does everybody have some sort of platform or program or whatever to or have an organized structure to your database. Everybody does, hopefully. In the beginning,
What do you use, Dan?
this is just a screenshot from something called Follow Up Boss. That's what I use. Does anybody here use Follow Up Boss?
Simple, it's cheap, it's easy to be small and big.
Yeah.
You communicate with affiliate partners.
Yes, it's awesome. I love it. I've been on it for, I don't know, 6-7 years, something like that. It's just a way to keep things organized. You can tag your people, you can just separate it into a million different categories. There's endless opportunities to keep things organized. In the beginning, for me, my database was literally like, you remember those desktop calendars that title companies would like bring by to your desk? Like that was my database. And I was so completely disorganized. And I had a couple names and numbers. And so this was very, very beginning of my real estate days. And I had an appointment, and I had an important name and number, and it was on that desktop calendar. Might have been like, I don't know, in West Title, we'll say. So some other title marketer comes through, he sees this title company's calendar on my desk and didn't appreciate it. And thought they put their calendar on my desk. So I'm like, oh, my one appointment, like, where did that go? No, it's in the trash because it got thrown away by the title rep. Don't have a desktop calendar be your database. Get organized. Like there's Command here, it's free. Follow Up Boss, I don't know, it's a few $100 a month probably for a team. Not exactly sure what I spend on it, but any thoughts or questions or comments or discussion around like organizing things in a database? Micah?
That's where my prospecting time comes from. Or I guess it's marketing, I don't know. So if I get a bunch of online leads that come in, I throw them into my database. My database watches their actions and tells me when to call. So it'll pop up and say, these 25 people revisited your site today that haven't been there for a month. These 15 people looked at a property 3 times. These 5 people saved a property. And that's what builds my call lists for me from the marketing that I do.
So you
Like
can
the
just go
database
onto
is
there and
crucial.
see who's been to my website recently. All right, here's my list of people I'm going to start.
Yeah, and then the
calling today.
scripting is easy. Like, hey, this is Micah. Thanks for taking my call. I saw that you were browsing properties on our website. I'm just curious buying a new house is a hard thing. What has you out looking for homes? And we talk about motivation and get into what they're needing. But the database is key to that.
Sure, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else like Boomtown users maybe, or Salesforce top producer? Is that still a thing?
It's gotta be, right? That was like the first one I ever used. It's gotta be.
Yeah, probably.
They're still talking about their new releases that are going to be coming out.
Yeah. Track your numbers. So this kind of goes back to that conversation of having that immediate feedback of, all right, what am I actually doing? So here's a little screenshot of a period of time. So this is out of Follow Up Boss. Tana, she had 295 dials during this period of time. She had 51 conversations that lasted in excess of 2 minutes. And she set 10 appointments. She sent out 479 texts through Follow Up Boss, and she sent 133 marketing emails. There's a direct correlation on every single one of these of how many appointments were set versus how many conversations and dials they made. Sorry, Kelsey, like her job is to not be on the phone doing lead generation calls, so don't judge her. She's our team admin. This is one way of tracking it. We've done it different ways. We've gone old school on a spreadsheet and literally tracked more categories and conversion ratios and all that. But this is kind of what we've settled into that works for us. Is anybody here doing anything as far as tracking their numbers that as personally or as a team that you don't mind sharing? Follow up, boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brad.
The question is, this activity, we really aren't, we're not necessarily separating prospecting for listings, prospecting for buyers. So when we look at the number of calls, the number of the activity, is that being generated because I got so many hits on a website, versus organically, I'm just pounding out the phone, calling people, hey, have you thought about selling your home? And it seems that there's a big difference between that. Even when we go through the office and we track.
As far as like conversion ratios, or what do you mean?
Well, activity.
Okay.
Just for giggles, one time I dumped in a bunch of data from all of our top producers, and I noticed the ratio between how many were buyers, how many were they representing for buyers, and what was the percentage of new listings that they had. And it was probably 2 to 1. So to prospect for buyers, I don't really focus on that versus, so that's what I'm talking about. We can prospect, but who in here would say, everybody would always think, well, I should have more listings than I should be running around with buyers. So how does this activity that you guys are doing relate to one or the other? Those phone calls.
I don't know that it necessarily does. I mean, there's times in my business where I won't even call back a buyer lead. Would I want a qualified buyer lead right now? Absolutely.
No. Yeah. Okay. Well, that was the question I had about when we're looking at activity.
Okay. Yeah, this particular method of tracking doesn't necessarily like distinguish, here's 5. I mean, I can go into it and be like, all right, here are our listing appointments. Did we convert them? Here are our buyer appointments.
Okay.
That's just not, I didn't take a screenshot of that.
Okay.
Just looking for deals.
Yeah. Sure. Cameron, do you mind me asking, like, are you guys into the leaderboard and follow up boss at all, or no? Okay. There's a bunch of dialers out there that will track results for you. Mojo Dialer, Vulcan 7. I'm pretty sure those will give you can track things on there, and it'll give you some sort of instant feedback on what you are or are not getting accomplished. Anybody familiar with the concept DT D2? That ring a bell? Who does DT D2? Taylor, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so this right here is the schedule. So they've divided it out where you do 2 letters a week, and it rotates through those 2 alphabet letters a week, right? And you get through it, make those phone calls to your people so you stay in touch and have that connection, and you hit those 4 times of connecting with them a year.
Awesome, thank you. So this is, for me, I kind of modified it, I guess. My drunk monkey got to me and said they don't want to actually be hearing from you 4 times a year, Dan. Stop calling them so much. But I got them. I've had better luck staying on track with it, knocking that down to 2 phone calls a year. Just like as Taylor said. So I planned out my year. I knew I'm gone June 20th, so I skipped that one. I just kind of evened out the letters approximately of, a certain percentage of my database that I'm going to get to them all a couple times a year by phone call, and then a couple times a year by text message. So when I come into the office on July 18th, I'm calling my Bs and I'm texting my people whose name ends with the letter S. This is where 90% of my time is spent if I'm on the phone calling my people, I'm just calling past clients, sphere of influence, people who know me. Maybe we've never even worked together and someday we might. I'd rather make those calls than calling people that I don't know. If you have something like this, cool, keep using it. If you need something like this, come find me. I can share the spreadsheet that I use with you. You can tweak it however you like. But it's been super helpful for me and my team just to stay in better touch with our people. So in our SOI, I don't know, in like our top level of our SOI, I think we had 1,200-ish names. And a month ago, I asked Kelsey to figure out, all right, how many of these people have we actually communicated with in Follow Up Boss over the past 90 days? And we were a lot lower than I thought we were at. Do you remember what it was? 40%. So 40% of our database had been communicated with in the past 90 days. So we're not going to hit the number of houses sold if we're only communicating with 40% of our database in a 90-day period of time. So our focus right now is we are going to do it again in 90 days, and hopefully that number is going to be a lot closer to 100%. Does anybody track what percentage of your database you communicate with in phone, person, or text message on a monthly basis or annual basis, anything like that? Does anybody get that deep? Could be a good time to take a look at that and be real with yourself and say, all right, how many of these people am I communicating with? You know, everybody's got like that far corner of their database where they see the name on there, like, I'm just not sure I want to call him or her today. And then you just skip it. Just get them out. If you're not willing to call them, don't like incur the mindset drain of like that negativity of, I just don't want to call them, you know. Just get them out, move them. You're going to be better off getting them out of there and moving on to the next person that you're comfortable actually calling, or just toughen up and make the call.
I made a rule that I can't take them out until I make the call. Then I can decide if I want to make the call. Because half the time you call them and it's a great conversation.
Yeah,
you're like, oh.
It's just stories you're telling yourself. Cameron?
Yeah.
Dr. once told me a really good idea. I've heard this from other people, right?
I've heard this from a couple of coaches, but they talk about it is sometimes mentally you don't want to talk to that person, but if you can shift it and you look and you say, okay, how many, and you can break this down fairly easily. How many deals did I do for my SOI? What was my total commission earned from that? How many calls did I totally make to get that number? And then you put a dollar amount to your basically every call. So you say, hey, that call, if I make it, whether that person says, you're a jerk, I don't want you ever to talk to me again. Boom, I just made $50 from him answering the phone. And all of a sudden you can start shifting it to say, every time someone's picking up the phone, I'm making money. And that can sometimes, I think, help get you over that block of saying, do I really want to make that call? Well, yeah, if I can make $100 making that call, I'm going to put up with somebody maybe I don't like to talk to for 5 minutes. But then you do get to a point where it gets draining and it's not worth $100. So I think you have to ask yourself, is it worth me calling that person for X amount of dollars for that call?
Yeah, I like that. Plus every no is one no closer to a yes. So any other thoughts about this one?
I really like that. I really like that method.
You're a jerk. I'm just kidding. He turned it off on me, but so I really like that method. That's worked out really well for me because what it does is then you can break it down and say, okay, for X amount of calls I make, this is how much money I make per day. And then it kind of tells you, okay, I'll make $6,000 today if I make these calls, or $8,000 or whatever. And then you can really kind of focus on that goal versus how many calls you have to make.
Awesome. Thank you. Sorry, this did not show up very well at all. This is different lead sources. Prospecting based is on the left. Marketing based is on the right. Some of these are expired, just listed, just sold. Past clients, allied resources, meaning your lender, title company, friends in the business. builders, banks, third-party companies, door-to-door, client parties. Who's knocking client parties out of the ballpark? Does anybody want to share with that?
Well, I mean, not successful as the rest of you, but.
Julie and I like to do events together, and that's just where I shine. So I don't want to give away our secrets though. Not that I'm, yeah. Anyway, no. So for instance, we are putting on a hypnosis show. That's our next event.
That's awesome.
And we did that last year, and that was a huge fun date night. We did a bird show in the spring. We did a ladies' Galentine's dance night, and we do Santa. So we're trying to do 4 events a year, because then we contact our whole database quarterly.
It makes the DTD2 so much easier. Like when you have like
it's hard for me to
natural reason to call and say,
well, and it's hard for me to count it, because then I'll call like 20 people in one day and then 2 the next, and then not call anyone. Like, I don't know. It's hard for me to.
It sound like
measure.
some really awesome events.
Well, in addition to that, it gives us an excuse to invite strangers. And we do that a lot. Like we'll invite in the line of the grocery store, Ariane will be like, you seem cool. Do you want to come to a bird show? And suddenly she has somebody else to add to her database. So
awesome.
It's just an excuse mostly to reach out and touch, but more than anything, it's adding it to that database.
And then you can start a great conversation when they ask you, what the hell's a bird show?
I know, right?
It's gonna be a little odd.
Other super common events that I've seen agents have great success with. We've never done an Easter egg hunt. I think they would be absolutely a blast and get a huge attendance. I'm sure they're a ton of work. Movies are a great event. Pool parties. I mean, we did Seven Peaks. I see people booking Cowabunga Bay. I see people booking municipal swimming pools. We're doing one next Wednesday at the Linden Pool. It's like the easiest, most chill way to just like hang out with your people, and they'll come. There's no they fit 1,100-1,200 people, so you can invite just a ton of people and get them in there and just have good contact with them.
I've had a good one that we learned from family reunion this year, and I've done it twice so far. Oh,
okay. I learned this from family reunion this year. I've done it twice so far, and it has been really successful. Awesome. We do housewarming parties for our buyers, and we get the lenders involved who help them, and they pay for the food. So it's like pretty much free for us. But then we get to meet all of their friends, all of their family, everybody in the neighborhood. They know that we are the ones who helped. And so now we've connected with, the last one I did was out in West Valley. These are people I would never have met ever. And now I have like 15 new people in my database from it.
That's awesome. You're getting to know these people at such a deeper level than just a phone call. It's like that pyramid of, can't remember what it is, but that face-to-face contact is just so much more effective than an email or a text or whatever. What is your name, by the way?
Liz.
Liz.
How are you guys doing the inviting for those housewarming parties, and what's like your follow-up and everything like?
so I get a list from my clients. I get just their phone number, and then I reach out and I call them, but I also send an e-bite through text to them. I follow up the week of and be like, so excited to see you. And then as far as the neighborhood goes, I take around flyers to all of the neighbors. I'm like, hey, we want to get to know the new neighbors. Feel free,
That's awesome.
open house style, come and meet everybody's. And then
Do you ever get any like trepidation from the buyer? Like, I don't want to have all these people that I don't really know in my house.
So, who, the buyers? Yeah, for the neighbors. Oh, yeah. So it's totally up to the buyers. Whoever they want to invite, that's who we invite. He's gonna go ours. First ones were super open. We want to meet everybody. Second ones, they were a little more cautious, and so it was.
That's cool. I love that idea. Did I see a hand somewhere?
I'll help you run on this side.
So I don't have as much time nowadays to do this, but I found service, is a great way to meet people. Like generally speaking, I see people's inspection reports. I've helped people fix their roof, paint stuff on their house, and yeah, exactly. That's how I broke my neck. But Carl's a really good example of this. I mean, I don't think I've seen a better example of Carl's out mowing people's lawns and you name it to help them get ready to sell houses. And I don't even have to ask for referrals at that point. 10 years later, that seller's like, hey, do you remember the time you helped me do this on my house? They never forget it. And so I think it's just a pretty easy way to get referrals and also be able to serve your clients.
We're also doing like a school drive for the brokerage for foster kids. That's just another easy touch.
So I have something just opposite. See, since we're all here, the market's getting tighter, money's a little tighter. I would like to know like top 5 ones that suck, that you've done, that you've spent money on, that were like, I would never do that again, just so we can all kind of learn from that instead of spending money doing
Lead
it.
gen or events or just
Events. So yeah, if anybody's willing to share like, hey, I tried this, it was horrible, I didn't have any turnout. I would like to know what events are not working or have not worked, just to save some people some cash in the future. So
Tyler?
I do not like movie theaters because you spend 2 to 3 hours in the theater and you're not socializing. Those events where like pool parties, we just had one last week. And I mean, there were tons, Linden Pool, same thing. Tons of people came. You're able to socialize. You don't even have to get in the pool. You just like walk around, talk to people. And like the happiness that were on people's faces that they were just there. You're socializing with them. You talk to everybody. I felt like a movie was a big waste of money. Yeah, it's cool to go see like a new fun movie for free, but like,
and it's pricey.
It is
$12 a pop.
Yeah.
And even if you're limiting it to 2 people, it adds up.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Yeah. So just pick events that are socially, where you can be socially available with your people. Otherwise, it's kind of a big waste of time for a lead gen source.
I disagree completely about your client base.
Like, what do you think your clients are going to actually like and what they are going to be able to, because I think a lot of clients don't want to go to a social event because they don't want to talk to you. Like, is that fair? Like, I don't want to go to my insurance agent, like is his thing, because I don't want to have to talk to him, but I appreciate it.
Would you give him business? If you went, would you have a good time and possibly give him business?
Yeah, I get business when I do movies, so it's like.
My thoughts on movies. It's really hard to quantify the exact result positive that you get from a movie. But with that being said, I can't argue with the increase year and after year with my SOI of doing movies. Brad.
Dan, this has nothing to do against you, but you taught me a lesson. 4 years ago, I was out knocking on doors, and the market, of course, was different. And there was a guy that was build his own houses, build one here, then he wants to sell it. So I went and started putting the press on him, and he goes, no, I got a guy I'm so connected with, and he sends me movie tickets. And I found out later it was you. And he went on and on and on.
There you go.
Okay.
Who was it?
So curiosity was, I circle back, and I'm following. That sucker is still listed his place with a homie. It's not against you, but like you said, he's out in Eagle Mountain.
I know who it is.
You know who it is. But yeah. But it's nothing against you. But I remember, 4 years ago, and what? He bought movie tickets for all these people? Geez, I can't afford that, and circle back. Yeah. But that market was a lot different then,
People, I think Tyler is absolutely right, and Alma as well. Like, people come to a movie and go, and sometimes you just simply do not see them, and you're like, darn it. We spend literally like an hour afterwards, like talking to people as well at a movie. Peter.
So I think it's important, to Colby's point, don't assume everybody in your database is the same. So for example, a pool party that really is it targets folks who have kids, they want to bring their kids, blah, blah, blah. It didn't occur to me until 2 years ago when COVID was going down that there's a whole segment of my database that has no interest in family activities. And so what we did is we did like a reverse Popeye. We did it here in the step down garden area. We called it pots and petunias. And in the spring, you came and you got a flat of petunias, tomato plants, kneeling pads, little shovels that were branded. And it was a raging success. And the people that came were an entirely different crew than what would normally come to one of our other events. And it was kind of interesting. And the other thing is they were all homeowners because they're looking to improve their property.
I like that.
And I've had people beg me this year, hey, you doing pots and petunias again? And we didn't, but we should have.
That's cool. Couple minutes left. Anybody have any other hey, stay away from type recommendations that you've tried and was kind of a bust maybe, Grady?
Yeah, along the line of events and maybe saving money. Some people are spending money on these events, but what if you do an event that you didn't have to spend money on, and that's a seminar or a class. And I've found it to be pretty successful as far as promotion. The person who's doing it is perceived as the expert, and if you don't have anyone show up, it didn't really cost you any money, but you're able to promote it all along the way. But yeah, an event or a class generally doesn't cost you any money.
I like that. I've never had the courage to do a class or a seminar. I've seen people do them and with really nice results for sure. Micah.
So just real quick, I do lots of different types of events, but for me, and I understand the 7 levels of communication and the best contact is getting face-to-face with people and things like that. But for me, the whole reason I started doing events is so that I had something to call them about on my DTD2, because I hated those calls. But once I started doing 5 or 6 events a year, it's easy. Hey, I'm doing this thing. And by the way, do you have any real estate plans? Like for me, I don't care if I have 50 people show up when I thought I'd have 250. If I talk to 250 people on the phone, now my name is top of mind. So we've had some great events. We've had some that were lower than what we were hoping for. But the point for me is being able to make a phone call.
Yeah, I like that. Events just make this phone call so much easier, so natural. We are about out of time and wrapping things up. Do we have lunch today? Okay. Do we have a ETA on that? Oh, cool. And our lunch sponsor today is Sheila with First Colony Mortgage. Do you want to come say anything?
And after that, we're going to have Josh is going to take 2 minutes to talk about his class because he wants to get some recommendations.
Hello. Sorry, we're going to have that lunch right ready for you. We just wanted it to for sure be hot. My name is Sheila. If you don't know me, you probably haven't been around Keller Williams for a while, and Travis, this is supposed to be him talking. Come here. I know you're all curious about rates, and Travis is going to give you a little spiel on his take.
Has anybody noticed what's happened yesterday? Anybody, what happened? What the feds do? So what did that do to mortgage rates? Nothing. They got better. Okay, so every time that people freak out about the feds raising rates, it typically doesn't affect the mortgage-backed securities immediately. They anticipate that happening weeks in advance. So yesterday, rates are better. Today, rates are better. I'm seeing things trickle down from last month when we were at 6%, coming down to the low 5s. So what does that mean for long-term locks or people under contract for new builds? That means that if they locked on a long-term 9-month lock, which a lot of us advise not to, they probably are at a higher rate than what they could get right now. Okay, so what I'm telling people is let's just see what happens with the market because things are getting better. Even an announcement today about a recession, right? So that was scary that we were worried what's going to happen with the market. Rates continue to get better. What questions do you have about rates? So That's a great question. People ask us, what's the rate for today? Well, it depends. What are we talking about? Are we talking 30-year conventional? You're probably in that low 5.25% to 5%, depending on what you want to pay to buy the rate down. Okay. A lot of these billboards on the I-15, they flash out a low rate. They don't tell you what that buy down is or how much money you have to put down for that. That's typically a 1% buy down, 30% down on a conventional loan. Okay. 5.25. You're probably in a 4.5, 4.75 on an FHA.
On our long-term locks, though, we do have a one-time float down option. So within 30 days of closing. So for me, it's done. I really like the long-term locks for my peeps because we still have that option of floating down, but they feel really secure with the fact it's not going to be any higher. And so they're not stressed out the whole entire time. Travis isn't as fond of them as I am, but
Depends on how far out people are and how often is new construction closing on the date they tell you 9 months ago.
I push it
Brad?
for a good 2 months.
Every time, right? So if I lock them on a 6-month lock and it's going to take a lot, you gotta pad that lock a little bit, especially in new construction, because there are delays. Right now I had one, it was glass doors that a complex couldn't get for shower doors. Okay, just little things that you don't think are going to pop up. Yes.
So on your recent closing with clients, what is your conversation like as far as refinancing in the future, 1 to 2 years out?
Right. Yeah. Because it's a cycle. We see it go up and down. I would just tell them, hopefully within the next couple of years, when we hit a low again, we can refinance that, especially if you're in the high 5s or the low 6s. That's a 2-to-1 buy down. Okay. That's something that we're doing right now. The 2-to-1 buy down option is they're anticipating by year 3, you're probably going to refinance so that you're not kicking back up to that higher rate. Do you guys know what a 2-1 buy down is? When you can actually get a better rate for the first couple of years because you're prepaying the interest up front. So that year 3 to year 30, you're going to be at your normal rate that you qualify at. So let's say right now you're at 5.5. That first year, you're going to get 3.5 on that rate. Second year, you're going to get 4.5. Hopefully by year 3, we're going to refinance you into a lower rate. That's the whole idea of a 2-1 buy down.
And the seller has to pay for that. A 3-1?
Sure, I guess. I don't know.
We don't have it.
No, I don't have anything like that.
The seller has to pay for the 2-1 buy down.
That's the question I asked, and they said that's the rule.
That's the rule. So,
Good question.
yeah, 10 grand, 7 to 10 grand, depending on where your loan amount is, because it's based on the interest. But with the way things are going right now and appraisals coming in a little higher in places, I have a client that we came in 20,000 high, and then I go back to her and say, do you want to do this 2-1 buy down? And we're gonna have the seller pay, the 10,000, so it's only 7,000, so she can do the 2-1 buy down. We raised the purchase price, and so whether you do that up front or whether you do that when you get an appraisal that comes in a little high, those are definitely options, and it really makes people feel good. I don't know if it's kind of the thing like buy now, pay later. I'm hoping that's not the case, but
a 2-1 buy down can help sellers too. So let's say you don't want to do a price reduction and you want to advertise. Sellers are willing to pay for a 2-1 buy down on this to get you into the house. That first year on a 2-1 buy down is significant. I priced one out the other day. It was at $480 purchase price. Loan amount was like $450. It was going to save them $500 a month the first month and $270 the second month. So a 2-1 buy down makes people feel better because their payments are lower for a couple of years.
And debt to income qualification, you go off the first year on the 2-1.
No, you go off the qualifying rate. So it'd be the higher rate is what you qualify it off of. Yes. That's the worst case scenario. We got to make sure they can make that payment in year 3 in case they never do refinance. Yes.
I'm from Intercap Lending, so I kind of feel like I'm in competition here, but I just want to say on 2-1 buy down is awesome because if you refinance in the first year, anywhere in the first 2 years, they actually get that money back that was put into the escrow account against their principal. So it's not like it's
Lost.
money away. If you bought the rate down, it would be lost. But if you do that 2-1 buy down, you actually get the money.
Right. Just kind of like on the FHA upfront mortgage insurance, if you do it on a streamline. Yep.
Let's do this. Let's have some, they can come get you. We can get these.
Yes, go everybody to eat. This is authentic Chinese food. Okay, it says that on the website, Panda Express. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Well, tell them thank you very much. Josh has 1 minute. Also, just realize this is a lead gen event for them. So if you have someone that you could get to them for a loan or be able to reach out to them, make it worth their while.
I'm so sorry. Carl's teaching next week. I'm teaching the following. I'm teaching online lead generation strategies. Does anybody have any topic with online lead generation strategies that you want me to cover? Okay, yes, absolutely. Anything else? Yes. Okay. Okay, yeah, okay. Retargeting, okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you, go eat.